So here we see Felicity Rao, right? She gets you actually get someone drew her picture. It probably cost like $1 million. Probably one of the slaves that drew her. She is the daughter of Madeline. You have this other fancy person, Madeline Siete de la Rousselière. Right, and then she comes from Jacques Siete de la Rousselière, and then Elizabeth Bussian, right? So she has those connections, right? The Rao connection, which is more aristocracy, but even the Blanchett name, right? The Blanchett Hyacinth, he was born in Guadeloupe. Charles Pierre Blanchett, he was also born and dies in Petit Canal, which is Little Canal, Guadeloupe, right? 1744, 1801. So those are the main. That's actually really important dates right there. So that's the chunk of the occupation right there. 50 something years, 60 something years, he lived there. They don't leave Hacienda. He leaves either the 1811 or 1817. So there's still going to be another 10 or 20 years that they're still down there. And here he is. His whole life is on Guadalupe. Who are the Blanchetts? Who are these people? Where'd they come from? And this is fascinating. I hope we find more information about these folks. So yeah, it's a horrible tragedy, or whatever, but they're part of history. They're a main part of history, and so that's the fascination with them. They would have been talking to Napoleon. They would have been around the French aristocracy. They're part of a horrible trade that the Western Europeans engaged in. We sit there and say we're the civilized people and how much better we are, but we had slavery, we're genocide native people, right? So this is I don't know. I don't. I can see I can hear the criticisms, but I'm not going to make anything of it because I know that this is all coming out of love, and so this is just, if anything, I'm glad. If I'm the Blanchett, I'm happy that somebody did this work for me. So now you have a skeleton version of the work that you could do. You could build off the work that I've done and find more information out. Hell, you might be able to find out that one of these guys was, sort of the Schindler's List of plantation owners, right? He's saving a whole bunch of them. But until you find that story out, I'm going to assume that there are a bunch of whipping the slaves, 190 slaves. That's a shit ton of slaves, 190 slaves. You had to have been doing some horrible shit in order to control and manipulate that many people to do work that they will not get paid for, that you will get paid for. Of course, you have to use brutal tactics, and the French used some of the fucking shittiest fucking tactics you will ever know. Not only was American slavery bad, but I mean the French, what they did in Haiti and what they did in all these islands. Nobody's paying attention on these islands. An imperialist country comes in, says we can do as we please. Nobody's paying any attention. They can commit as many war crimes as they want to and just cover the evidence up, right? No body, no crime. So if nobody takes any pictures, no press, no pictures, they can wipe out, a whole bunch of people and nobody ever knows what happened to them. So you had Charles Blanchett II. We see Charles Blanchett I was actually born in France, but then eventually he dies in Petit Canal, Guadeloupe, fairly young. He's only 49 years old, so he could have got shot and murdered, right? Something bad could have happened to him, and he winds up he has Charles Pierre Blanchett II the same year, 1744, September 3rd, and then Charles Blanchett I is going to have May 24th. So he's going to die, and then his baby's going to be born, several months later. So actually, his wife would be pregnant while he's dead. And so, who is this man, right? He's an important man too. He's a transition. He's a transition from France to Guadeloupe. So just like Hyacinth is a big transition from Guadeloupe, Hyacinth #1, and I think that's how you say it. Hyacinth. And then from there we got Jean Baptiste Blanchet, right? Jean Baptiste Blanchet. This is born in France, and we don't know where they died. And then they say, this is all the information we have. So this could totally be, again, just like the Barney Gripshover hegemon, right? That could totally be just some information somebody found, punched down, and it could be right, it could be wrong. But who might have sit there and say that some other information that somebody punched in is totally wrong? It's good to be skeptical, but again, I think it's also a good lead. So whereas you don't know something, knowing a little bit of something, gives you an indication of something. Versus, instead of having complete ignorance and being completely in the dark, at least, there's something here. So, okay, Jean Baptiste Blanchet, and we only go back to 1901 or 1910 for the Gripshover, so we actually can go farther back with the Blanchetts. The French seem to have better record keeping. The French also, we see the difference between the French culture and the English culture. In dealings with the Native Americans in Kentucky, at least specifically, before, sort of the American Revolution, the French were known to deal with the Native Americans more fairly. They were setting up trading posts, and they wanted to trade with the Indians, and they wanted to set up a business partnership with them more so than occupying them. And so they tend to be more fair with the with the Native Americans compared to the Spanish and compared to the British. And especially the Spanish. The Spanish were known as just being like brooded savage, De Soto, Pizarro, Cortez, all those bastards was just brutal, just wiped out entire civilizations. Okay, so yeah, that's the Blanchet. So we got Jean Baptiste Blanchet, then we got Charles the First, Charles the Second, and then we get Hyacinth. Okay, and then Hyacinth, let's see, Hyacinthi Nicholas Durest, Hyacinthi, He might. Oh, my name is Hyacinthi. Cynthia, Hyacinthia. How you doing, Cynthia? I don't know. Hyacinth. I bet there's an extra pronunciation. I bet that's a name that's around. We could find out actually how that's said. So it kind of sucks that I don't know. But Hyacinth Nicholas Durest, HND, maybe HND. Yeah. So then he's in Guadalupe, and then eventually he dies in America. So let's go back to Johann Bernard Gripshover II, the patriarch, the main man who comes to America aboard the Deutschland and 7 children, a crop in the field, right? Saving whatever little bit of money that he had. And there's a controversy, right? So how did they get the money when they came over? Did they sell the land, and then from the money that they sold from the land, they used that? Because they would have had a pretty penny. They would have had a substantial sum. I know I come up with a dollar figure, but I think we need to check that dollar figure out a little bit more specifically. But if anything, it says that there was a wealth. They had wealth. They had some dollar figure, not American dollars, but they had tailors or whatever currency that they were using then. So he had substantial, wealth there. He could have paid for the voyage himself there, or he could have saved it and paid for it here. Or there's a story that says that the Brueggemans had paid for it. So they get married, they sell the farm, he's got money in his pocket, and he gets the Brueggemans to pay for it. Maybe that's possible. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a lot of things we know and a lot of things we don't know. There's no knowns, and then there's unknown unknowns, right? And we can know what we know, but we can't know what we don't unknow or whatever. I'm trying to quote Donald Rumsfeld there, but the point being is sort of why did Johann and Anna and Katharina? We'll just start out with the first question anybody would ask. Why did Gripshovers come to America? What was the point of the Gripshovers coming to America? Why did they come here? We don't know. We have no fucking clue. We have no idea. We have the ideas of America. We have the history of immigration in the 1800s. So we have a clue, right? There's war and bloodshed and conscription and land reforms, and bad things are happening in Europe, and then they come to the promise of America, right? The land of opportunity, come here, lots of, wine and honey, and everybody is just doing well. So there's push and pull factors, right? But it could be anything until we actually know the specific reason of why we came over here. Won't feel satisfied. So we need to verify that. That's probably that would be the line of demarcation, right? Why did they come over? We don't know. We know what they did. We know that the deed. We know the people. We know their lives when they got here, but we don't know why they came over here. We also don't know the sound of their voices, or what their favorite ice cream was, or favorite vegetable, or favorite song, their music. We actually, if they were to talk to us today, they only spoke in Plattdeutsch, which is a German language, but it's a lower type of German language. Lower in hierarchy, and also in terms of land. It's spoken in the lowlands of Germany, which is right next to the Netherlands, right? The Netherlands is the lowlands, and so Plattdeutsch is sort of named after that same geographical lowland spot. But it's also hierarchical. The official language is modern day Germany. They wrote it down and said, okay, this is the official language. But for the Hanseatic the Hanseatic League, the the Franca Lingua, the main language that they had used, the official main language that they had used for the Hanseatic League, which was just an economic sort of confederation that was happening along Germany's border. For a good long time, that sort of brought stability to the area. There was all these merchants who had, kind of. Anyways, the main language was Plattdeutsch, was sort of this lower level German language that people could use. And while the German language is very much like the 16 states of the country Germany, whereas they have similar cultural attributes, but they just one person from one town could probably understand each other, but they wouldn't know each other 100%. They wouldn't know exactly what they were talking about. So language, that's a fascinating sort of. I don't know. I was wanting to try to plot the Gripshovers by the diffusion of language. Where did the language diffuse from? And we can see maybe that's where the Gripshovers came. We see that the Westphalian Plattdeutsch language is here today, but where was it before? And so that would probably be harder than actually finding another history that I was wanting to do. You can find out why people died. I was told that my grandmother actually had died of stomach cancer or an ulcer in her stomach or something, but actually it was colon cancer, right? The story was she picked up a rock and got cancer. Like that doesn't even make sense. And then also during the operation table, they had a bunch of like scissors inside and they had to sew her up real fast, and then she's dead, right? So she suffered for like 3 years, for a long time, with a colostomy bag, and eventually stomach cancer is what killed her. So that's it's fascinating, I think, actually, to do the study of history that has killed us, because some of our ancestors have lived for 90 years, but other ones of us have just died of pneumonia. And so pneumonia was the main cause, but we could find out if there's something genetic in our history that we could see that is recurring over and over again, and possibly diagnose it before it gets us, or prevent, get some antibiotics, or get some sort of preventive medicine, so that way it doesn't kill us over and over again. And so they call it the medical history of the family. So I think getting a medical history of the Gripshovers would be another fun little project to spend a ton of time in. But let's see here. So we're at Johann Gripshover II and Anna Brueggemann. And let's see, we were going through all the different. I didn't even go back to the Damascus. I will go back to the Damascus, so probably another video. But to see that's we saw that the Blanchett connection was from George Anthony and Damasco. So the Blanchetts would also have Damasco blood too. So the Blanchett Gripshovers would have Damasco blood as well as Gripshover blood. So yeah, so that's good for them, right? I did all that research for you guys. Hopefully, that's nothing but love for y'all. So that's good stuff. Hopefully, people will appreciate it. Not be dicks. I've had fucking people be dicks. Well, your work is no good, motherfucker. I'm barely doing any of this stuff, and this is just for my own identity, let alone helping other people. But I understand it, to a degree, to where it's comfortable, to where I feel I kind of have a decent foundation of where I'm coming from, and hopefully I can know it enough to where I can explain it to other people too. And this is one way of explaining it. This is, I'm showing you the damn tree. This is what I'm looking at here. So Ferdinand is going to marry Elizabeth Hellman, and Ferdinand is my ancestor. This is Ferdinand is going to eventually have Camillus, and Camillus is my grandfather. So Ferdinand has lots of Gripshovers, lots of Ferdinand Hellman connections. So we see Anna G, Lily, Horace R. Bush, and he dies in Florida. So a lot of them are dying in Florida. They're doing pretty well for themselves, where they're getting on up and out of here. Here's the William that's probably married to Anakin, right? So that's a Ferdinand Gripshover. We see Lawrence Rose Coslow. So we're going to see it's not Cosmo Kramer, but Coslow. And he would have been born 2 years before Camillus. Well, how many children did Coslow have? He's got a little leaf. I remember these little leaves. I'd get so excited with these little leaves. And then I'll even show you this thing here too. Sort of what I'm seeing, more of what I'm seeing. But here's, let's look at more of Camillus. He also has Loretta Gripshover, which is his twin. He was married. He was born, at the same time, and had a twin. But eventually the twin dies, it says 1909. So she would have been about 3 or 4 years old. So what happened? You know, what happened? And then here's like some Joseph Gripshovers. I'm not for sure. You know, some of these seem cross Antoinette. Are we being redundant? Is this a different family? So, you know, yes, I got to clean some of the stuff. Yeah, see, we're seeing Joseph Gripshover right here, right? So this is the Lehman Gripshover connection, and we're going to get to that coming back up. Hopefully we can see a little bit of Coslow. Yeah, okay, so we see a Coslow Kramer, but actually it says that it's an Albert Gripshover. So we're going to check this census, and we're going to see actually that it's not a Coslow. Or maybe it is Coslow A, but we'll look at the census.